The surrender the grand hall of the Galactic Council was filled with silence. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in curved rows, their glowing eyes fixed on the tall figure at the center. The alien princess stood there, her silver crown shining faintly. Under the dim lights, her shoulders were heavy, not only with the crown, but also with the weight of her people's defeat. Her voice shook as she spoke. "We cannot fight anymore. My people are broken. We have lost too much." Whispers spread across the council like cold wind. Some leaders nodded, pleased that the proud royal was finally ready to give up. Others sneered, mocking her weakness. Outside the great hall, her armies had already been crushed. The enemy fleet surrounded their last stronghold. It was over, or so it seemed. The princess lowered her head, preparing to kneel in surrender. But before her knees touched the ground, a sound echoed in the hall. "Wait." The single word was not loud, yet it cut through the silence like a blade. Every alien head turned, confused. From the back of the chamber, a figure stepped forward. He was not a general, not a noble, not even an elder. He was just a student. A human student. The council erupted in laughter. A human? Here, one alien. Arced, his scaled chest rumbling. "Send him back to his lessons," another sneered. "Humans do not belong in council matters," a third growled. But the human boy did not stop walking. His steps were steady, his eyes locked on the princess. His clothes were simple, a plain uniform with no mark of rank. Yet there was something unshaken about him, something that silenced even the loudest voices. As he reached the center dot, the princess stared at him with disbelief. "You should not be here," she whispered. He shook his head. "And you should not surrender." Gasps filled the chamber. The words were bold, dangerous. To speak against surrender was to speak against the entire council's decision. Yet the human's voice did not tremble. The princess's lips parted, anger and despair mixing in her heart. "You do not understand. We are outnumbered. We are surrounded. If I resist now, more of my people will die." The human student raised his chin. "If you surrender now, they will all die as slaves. Better to fall fighting than to kneel in chains." His words struck like fire. For a moment, silence hung, heavy in the chamber. The alien leaders frowned, but none interrupted. The princess clenched her hands. She wanted to believe him, but her mind screamed at her. Her people were exhausted. Her fleets were destroyed. How could a boy, a human boy, change anything? One of the alien counselors broke the silence with mocking laughter. "Listen to him, princess. A child speaks of war while soldiers lie dead outside. What can a human student know of battle?" The human turned sharply, meeting the counselors. "Glare, I know one thing. The war is not lost yet." The room stirred. Even the princes blinked in surprise. Dot the boy reached into his satchel and pulled out a small datapad. The hologram flickered, showing a map of the enemy fleet. "I have studied their movements. I have seen their weakness. They are not as strong as they want you to believe." The council laughed again, but the princess's eyes narrowed. A weakness? Could it be true? "Enough!" an elder alien roared. "Do not fill the princess's mind with foolish hope. Let her surrender and end this." But the human student stood firm. His voice rose, clear and sharp. "Hope is not foolish. It is the one thing they cannot crush. Princes, if you kneel now, your people will never rise again. But if you stand, even for one last time, you may yet change the future." The princess stared at him, her heart racing. She had come to this. Hall ready to surrender, ready to hand over her crown and her people's fate. But now, standing before her, was a single human who refused to let her give up. Why? Why would a human, a boy with no power, risk his life to stop her? A council shouted in chaos. demanding his removal. Guards stepped forward, ready to drag him away, but before they reached him, the princess raised her hand. "Stop," she commanded. The guards froze. The chamber fell into silence again. All eyes turned to her dot. The princess looked at the human, her voice low but steady. "You speak with fire. Show me this weakness you claim. If you lie, I will have you executed. But if you speak truth—" She paused, her crown glinting under the light. "Then perhaps this war is not over after all." The human nodded, his expression firm. "Then let me prove it." The princess's heart pounded as the chamber filled with whispers once more. She had not surrendered, not yet, and for the first time in many long nights, she felt a spark of hope. The student's defiance. The council chamber was still buzzing with disbelief. The alien princess stood tall, her sharp eyes fixed on the human student before her. She had paused her surrender because of him, but the weight of the council's anger pressed hard around them. The elder aliens slammed their fists on the table. "This is madness." "Throw the human out," one shouted. Another sneered. "He is a child. He speaks with no rank, no army, no crown. What gives him the right to stand here?" The guard stepped forward again, but the princess lifted her hand. "He stays," she ordered. Her voice cut through the chaos like steel. The chamber grew silent again. The counselors shifted uneasily. No one wanted to challenge the royal command. Not yet. The princess turned to the human student, her expression hard. "You spoke of weakness. Show me. Why should I delay surrender because of you?" The student raised the datapad once more. With a few taps, a hologram map floated in the film. Air. The enemy fleet glowed red, surrounding their last stronghold. At first glance, it looked impossible, hundreds of ships against only a handful. But then the human pointed. "Here," he said, his voice steady. "And here. These two formations. They look strong, but they are not. They repeat the same movement every time. That is a flaw. They leave a gap small, but real. If we strike there, their fleet will break apart." The princess leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. She could see the rhythm of the enemy ships, the repeating pattern. She had never noticed it before. "You studied this?" she asked quietly. The boy nodded. "Every night. While others slept, I watched their movements. They think no one sees, but I saw. Humans see what others ignore." Some counselors scoffed loudly. "He gambles with illusions." "You would trust your crown to a boy's guesswork?" Another growled. "This is trickery. He wants you to resist, so your people will be destroyed even faster." The princess ignored them. Her thoughts raced. Could it be true? Was there still a chance? The student stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers. "Princess, I am not asking you to believe me blindly. Test me. Send scouts. See for yourself. But do not surrender until you know the truth. If you kneel now, you give your people to chains. If you fight, you give them a chance." His words struck her heart like thunder. The fire in his voice burned. Away her doubt, if only for a moment. She had seen many warriors, many commanders, yet none spoke with such unshaken defiance. But still, fear gnawed at her. If he was wrong, she would doom her people to destruction. The council erupted again, their voices rising in anger. "Princess, this is dangerous. He is human, do not trust him. Your hesitation will kill us all." Her chest tightened. She could not decide. Every path was a risk. Then the human did something no one expected. He walked past the princess and stood in the center of the chamber, facing the entire council. His voice rang out, sharp and clear. "You call me a child. You mock humanity. But tell me, who among you has not lost battles? Who among you has not made mistakes? And yet you sit here, Pretending surrender will save you. You are wrong. Gasps filled the hall. No alien had ever spoken to the council like this. The human lifted his chin higher. Humans do not surrender. We do not kneel, even when we are broken. If you kneel today, the galaxy will remember you as cowards. But if you stand, even outnumbered, they will remember you as free. The words burned through the chamber. Even those who despised humans felt the sting of truth. The princess herself felt her heart pound. The boy's defiance was reckless, but it was also powerful. For the first time in many years, the alien princess felt something new rise inside her, hope mixed with pride. But before she could speak, a deep rumbling shook the council chamber. The walls trembled. A low alarm rang out. Everyone froze. The sound was unmistakable. The enemy fleet was moving closer. A guard rushed in, his face pale. "Princess, the enemy demands your surrender now. If you refuse, they will fire on the capital within the hour." The chamber erupted into chaos once more. Counselors screamed for her to kneel. Others shouted for escape. The human student stood still, his fists clenched. He turned to the princess. His voice urgent, but calm. "This is it. You must decide. Kneel and lose everything, or stand and fight with me. Even one chance is better than none." The princess's heart thundered in her chest. She looked at the council, at the human, and finally at the hologram still glowing with the enemy's weakness. The choice was before her. Asterisk. The hidden secret, the council chamber, shook again as the alarm blared. Dust fell from the high ceiling. The alien princess gripped the edge of her throne, her face pale. Outside, the enemy fleet was tightening its grip. Time was running out. "Princess," one of the elders shouted, "end this. Sign the surrender before the city is burned." Another cried out, "Do not waste time on a child's fantasies." The voices tore at her ears. But in the middle of the storm stood the human student. Calm, steady, unbroken. "Do not surrender yet," he said. "Send scouts to the gap I showed you. See for yourself. You'll find the truth." The princess hesitated, and turned to her commander. "Dispatch a stealth wing, immediately." The elder counselors roared in anger. This is madness. But the princess's command could not be denied. The scouts launched, vanishing into the dark void. Minutes crawled by. The chamber was filled with nervous silence, broken only by the faint hum of the hologram map. The human stood close to it, his eyes never leaving the shifting red patterns of the enemy fleet. Finally, a message crackled through the cones. The scouts had returned. "Report," the princess ordered. A trembling alien officer stepped forward. "Your Highness, the human was correct. The enemy formations repeat every 12 cycles. There is a gap, small but real." Shock rippled through the chamber. Counselors stared at the boy as if he had spoken prophecy. The princess leaned back, slowly, her heart pounding. He had been right. The human had seen what none of her generals had noticed. The boy spoke softly, his voice cutting through the silence. "It is not only a gap. It is a weakness in their chain of command. Their fleets are controlled by central carriers. If those fall, the others will scatter." The counselors were speechless, but before relief could spread, a sharp voice broke. The silence. "This is a trap," one elder hissed. His long fingers tapped the table. "How else would a mere human know this? He is feeding us lies, so we die faster." Murmurs filled the chamber. Doubt returned like a wave. The princess narrowed her eyes. "Speak carefully, elder. Are you accusing him of betrayal?" The elder leaned forward, his eyes glowing cold. "Yes, he is human. Why would he fight for us? Perhaps the enemy sent him. Perhaps he is their spy." Gasps filled the room. The guards shifted uneasily. The human clenched his fists. "That's not true." I fight because surrender is worse than death. I fight because I cannot stand by while you give up. But the seeds of doubt were planted. Some counselors nodded in agreement with the elder. Others looked at the boy with suspicion. The princess's chest tightened. Was this all a trick? Was she risking her people on the words of a stranger? The elder rose to his feet. Seize him. We cannot gamble on human lies. Guards moved forward. The human did not step back. He stood tall, his eyes fixed on the princess. You must decide, princess. Do you believe me or them? Her breath caught. In her heart, she felt the boy's fire was true. But the council's fear was spreading fast. Before she could speak, another alarm blared. A new report came through. Your Highness, the enemy fleet is moving faster than expected. They are preparing to fire on the capital. Panic spread in the chamber. The elders shouted over one another. It's too late. Surrender now. Save the city. Do not listen to the human. The princess felt torn in two. Her hands trembled on the throne. Then the boy spoke again, his voice like steel. Princess, listen. They are bluffing. If they fire, they destroy what they want to capture. They need your surrender more than your death. That is why they pressure you now. They are afraid you will see the weakness. His words struck deep. Could it be true? Her heart pounded. All eyes were on her. The council demanded surrender. The human demanded defiance. And the fate of her people balanced on her next word. Slowly, the princess stood. Her crown gleamed in the dim light. She lifted her chin, her voice sharp. No one touches the human. He speaks with courage when others tremble. Until I am proven wrong, I will hear him. The elder hissed in rage. The council broke into shouts again. But the princess ignored them. For the first time, she felt the chains of fear slipping from her shoulders. The human bowed slightly, then straightened. His eyes burned with quiet determination. But in the shadows of the chamber, the elder's eyes narrowed. He would not allow a human to guide the princess. Not without a fight. Asterisk the rising tension, the alien princess left the council chamber with heavy steps. The voices of the elders still echoed in her ears, full of anger and doubt. Yet beside her walked the human student, calm, steady, and strangely fearless. She glanced at him. Do you realize what you have done? Half the council now believes. You are a spy. The boy did not flinch. Let them believe what they want. You needed truth, and I gave it. Their fear is louder than reason. Her lips pressed into a thin line. He was bold, almost too bold, but something in his eyes told her he was not lying. He believed every word, and that belief was beginning to stir something inside her. They entered the war room, a chamber filled with maps, strategy tables, and silent officers who bowed as the princess entered. The air was thick with tension. The princess spoke sharply. Prepare a small strike team. Test the human's theory. No large fleets, only scouts with stealth shields. Her general looked uneasy. Your Highness, this is risky. If he is wrong, she cut him off. Then I will answer for it. Send them. The general obeyed, but not without a doubtful glance at the boy. As the orders were carried out, the human leaned closer to the hologram map. His fingers traced the enemy's patterns. They repeat because they are overconfident, he murmured. They think no one is watching closely. The princess studied him. How did you even notice? He gave a small shrug. Humans. We survive by watching what others miss. We see patterns where others see chaos. Her gaze lingered on him, her mind torn between admiration and fear. Could this strange student truly be the key to saving her people? Hours later, the strike team launched. Silent ships slipped through the darkness toward the enemy's weak point. The war room held its breath as the scouts vanished into the void. Minutes stretched like years. Then a voice crackled through the comms. "We are in position. The gap is real. They do not see us. We await your command." Gasps filled the room. Officers turned to the princess in shock. The weakness was real. The boy had been right again. But before she could respond, another alarm screamed. A voice shouted from the comms. "Enemy interceptors. They're coming straight for us." The princess's eyes widened. How had they been discovered so fast? The scouts' voices filled the channel, panicked and urgent. "We're under fire. Shields failing." The boy leaned forward. "No, it's too soon." Someone warned them. The princess's blood ran cold. A spy. The weakness was real, but someone inside the council had betrayed them. The comms went silent. The scouts were gone. The war room erupted in shouts. "We have been exposed. They knew our plan. We are finished." The princess gripped the edge of the table. Betrayal. The human had been right, but their enemy had been faster. The boy turned to her, his voice low but steady. "They have someone inside your council." That's how the enemy knew. Her heart sank. She thought of the elder who had shouted for his arrest. Could it be him? Or another? The general spoke grimly. "Your Highness, without trust in the council, we cannot plan anything. We are fighting both the enemy outside and traitors inside." The princess closed her eyes, her chest tight with fury. She had nearly surrendered once. Now, when hope had peered, betrayal threatened to steal it again. The boy stepped closer, his voice sharp. "Then do not trust the council. Trust me." Her eyes snapped open. "You ask for a lot, human." "I ask for a chance," he replied. "You saw it with your own eyes. The weakness is real. We only failed because someone betrayed us. We must act before the enemy tightens their hold." She stared at him, torn. Could she put everything on this boy? Before she could answer, the chamber shook violently. Explosions rocked the capital. Officers shouted, "The enemy is firing warning shots. The city is under attack." The princess's heart pounded. The enemy was pressing harder, forcing her hand. She looked at the boy. His eyes burned with fire, even as the walls shook around him. "Princess," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "If you surrender now, everything ends. But if you stand, I will stand with you, even if it kills me." The silence that followed was heavier than the explosions outside. For the first time, she realized this human was not just stubborn. He was willing to die for her cause, for her people, for her. Asterisk. The turning point. The capital shook under the thunder of enemy fire. Towers trembled, streets cracked, and fear spread through the people like wildfire. The alien princess stood in the war room, her crown heavy on her brow, while counselors shouted in panic, "They will destroy us." One screamed, "Princess, kneel now before it is too late." Another cried, their voices stabbed at her ears, each word pulling her closer to surrender. But then she glanced at the human student. He stood silent, fists clenched, eyes burning. With steady fire. He was not afraid, not of the council, not of the enemy, not of death. "Princess," he said quietly but firmly, "this is the moment. You can bow and end it, or you can fight and change it." Her heart pounded. She remembered the scout's last words before betrayal silenced them. The gap is real. The boy was right. The enemy wasn't invincible. She lifted her hand. Silence. The council froze. The princess rose from her throne, her voice sharp. "No more cowardice. No more surrender. We fight." A chamber gasped. The elders shouted in outrage, but the princess ignored them. She turned to her general. "Prepare. Strike fleet. Small, fast, armed for one purpose, to break their command carriers." The general hesitated. "But, Your Highness, if the boy is wrong, then we fall together," she interrupted. "But if he is right, we rise together." Her words lit a fire in the room. Officers saluted, rushing to prepare the fleet. The counselors screamed protests, but their voices were drowned out by the roar of engines rising from the hangars below. The human student moved closer to her, his voice steady. "We must be faster than their spy. If they warn the enemy again, we lose." She nodded, her eyes narrowing. "Then we keep the plan between us. No council, only loyal crews." For the first time, she smiled faintly. "You are reckless, human." "But perhaps I need reckless." He smiled back. "Humans are good at reckless." Moments later, the fleet launched. Sleek ships burst from the capital's towers, slicing through the void like arrows of fire. The princess watched from the command deck of her flagship, the humans standing beside her. The enemy fleet loomed ahead, vast, endless, a wall of crimson ships. The princess felt fear claw at her heart. But then she remembered the boy's words. Humans do not kneel. She straightened. Target the gap. Strike the carriers. The fleet surged forward. The enemy reacted instantly, ships moving to intercept. Explosions lit the void, shockwaves rattling the flagship. The princess gripped the railing, her chest tight. The human's voice rang out. "Stay on course. They will try to draw us away. Ignore the bait, strike the heart." His eyes scanned. The hologram, sharp and unblinking. The enemy's pattern shifted, exactly as he predicted. "There! Their carrier is exposed. Hit it now." The order was given. Dozens of missiles streaked across the void, slamming into the massive carrier. The explosion lit up the darkness like a dying star. Cheers erupted across the fleet. The enemy. Formation wavered, ships breaking apart in confusion. The princess's heart soared. "It's working." But victory was short-lived. Alarms screamed again. A second enemy carrier shifted position, unleashing a wave of heavy bombardment. Entire Allied ships were torn apart, fire and debris scattering through the void. The general shouted, "We cannot hold. They are too many." The princess's hope faltered, but the human gripped her arm, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Do not stop now. One more carrier. Break it, and the rest will scatter. If we retreat, we lose everything." His certainty burned hotter than the fire outside. She nodded, forcing her voice steady. "All ships press forward. Strike the second carrier." The fleet charged. Enemy fire rained down, tearing through hulls. The princess watched friends and warriors die, her heart aching with every loss. But she refused to yield. Not now. Not after coming this far. The human shouted coordinates, guiding the fleet through the chaos. His mind saw patterns even in the storm. "Now, fire everything." Every remaining ship unleashed its weapons. The second carrier erupted in flames, breaking apart in a chain of explosions. The enemy fleet shuddered. Ships scattered, their command broken. The wall of crimson fractured into chaos, the war room filled with stunned silence. Then, slowly, roar of triumph echoed through the COMMS. The princess gripped the railing, her chest heaving. They had done it. Against all odds, they had struck the enemy's heart. But before relief could settle, a chilling message came through. The enemy's voice crackled across the comms, dark and cold. "You think you have won? You are mistaken. We will burn your world to ashes." The hologram flickered, showing a massive enemy superweapon charging on the edge of the system. Far larger, far deadlier than anything they had faced. The princess's blood ran cold. The human clenched his fists. This is their last move. If we fail to stop it, everything we've done is for nothing. Asterisk the human legacy. The stars burned red. as the enemy's superweapon came into view. It was a colossal construct, larger than any battleship, its core glowing with a deadly light. If fired, it would wipe out the capital in a single blast. The alien princess stood on her flagship's deck, her heart pounding like a drum of war. Around her, officers shouted, fear in their voices. "They are charging the weapon. We cannot stop that power. Princess, we must surrender before it fires." The council's cries reached her again through the comms, desperate and broken. "Bend the knee, princess. Save what remains." But this time, she did not waver. Her eyes narrowed, her voice sharp as a blade. "No, we do not kneel." Beside her, the human student stood with clenched fists, staring at the hologram of the enemy weapon. "They think fear will break you, but fear only makes us fight harder." The princess turned to him. "Tell me there is a way." He looked at the glowing weapon, then at the fleet's scattered ships. His mind worked quickly, tracing patterns in the chaos. Finally, he spoke. "There is one chance." "One, but it will cost everything." The room fell silent. The princess's breath caught. "Explain." He pointed at the hologram. "Their weapon draws power from its core, but the core is unstable. If struck at the right moment, it will overload. The explosion will tear it apart from within." The general frowned. "Impossible. Their shields are too strong. We would never get close enough." The human's jaw tightened. One ship could. If it carried enough power and struck directly, it could pierce the shield long enough to detonate. The princess's eyes widened. As she understood, "You mean a suicide strike?" The boy nodded slowly. "Yes." The chamber went still. No one spoke. The idea was madness. But it was the only way. The princess's chest ached. She wanted to order someone else to do it. Some soldier, some nameless pilot. But then the human student stepped forward. "I will go." Her eyes snapped. To him, "No, you are not even a soldier. I will not allow it." He met her gaze, his eyes steady, his voice firm. "This is why I came here. Not to watch you surrender, not to beg for peace. I came to remind you what it means to fight, to stand. If one life can save a world, then let it be mine." The princess felt her throat tighten. This human, this boy, had no crown, no army, no title, yet he carried more courage than all her council combined. "No," she whispered. "I cannot ask this of you." "You don't have to ask," he said softly. "I choose it." Before she could stop him, he turned and strode toward the launch bay. Officers tried to argue, but his steps were unshaken. He climbed into a sleek strike craft, his hands steady on the controls. The princess watched from the command deck, her chest burning with emotions she could not name. Pride, fear, pain. The fleet parted as his lone craft shot forward, streaking toward the monstrous weapon. Enemy fire rained down, but he weaved through it. A single spark defying a storm. The enemy commander's voice crackled through the comms, furious. "One human dares to challenge us? You are nothing." But the boy only smiled. "Humans have always been nothing, until we decide to be everything." His craft dove straight at the glowing core. The weapon's shields flared, blinding, tearing at his ship. Alarm screamed, metal groaned. But he did not turn away. At the last moment, his voice came through the comms, calm and steady. "Princess, never kneel." Then the strike craft hit the core. For a heartbeat, the stars went silent. Then the universe exploded. The enemy's superweapon erupted in a blinding firestorm, its massive frame tearing apart piece by piece. Shockwaves rippled across the void, hurling enemy ships into chaos. The once mighty fleet scattered, broken, leaderless, terrified. The princess shielded her eyes, tears stinging as the light faded. The human was gone. But his defiance burned, brighter than any star. Her voice trembled, but she stood tall, speaking to her people across the cons. Hear me, my people. Today we did not surrender. Today, one human showed us that courage is stronger than chains. We will honor his sacrifice. We will rise, and we will never kneel again. Across the capital, cheers erupted. Warriors lifted their weapons. Civilians cried out in triumph. The name of the human student spread like fire, whispered in awe. Princess looked out at the fading fire in the sky, her crown heavy but her spirit unbroken. He came to us as a student, she whispered, but he left as a legend.